Hello and welcome to the next tutorial. I guarantee that you're going to find this finished product very interesting, but I am also going to guarantee that you're going to hate the process. So let's get started. So this is called a lot of different things. Fidget cube or fidget shape is what I'll be referring to it off and on just because I can't think of a name that refers to this thing in particular. So let's get started. I'm going to drag this shape over here right there. And let's just go ahead and rename this right now. Fidget design. Now, I would like you, for my students who are working on this on their own, to call this fidget and then the name of your shape. And if you don't know how to spell it, we'll just go ahead and hover over each one of these: polygon, circle, heart, whatever you want to do. Go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to change this to 5. Now, the numbers here don't really matter. And the reason is because when you are designing yours, my numbers will not apply to you, because if you choose a different shape, then it's going to be a different shape. Now, technically, you can choose to make a design out of any of these shapes. It is just a lot more work for some than others. So let me just move this over to the right. I'm sorry, my other right, which is what I tell my students. All right, so I'm going to bring in a box, and we're going to make this box 1 millimeter. That's about right. And 5, no, actually I should make it around 10. No, that's a little bit too high. And again, my apologies. There it is. Okay, 7's good. Here's the thing I'm hesitating. In fact, let me see right there. I want to let me rotate this 90 degrees. So I'm gonna hit the shift and just do that. Okay, here, oops. Here's why I'm hesitating. Now, if you were to turn this right now, it would change how all this works. So please keep in mind the order at which I'm doing this. I'm going to choose a degree that is parallel to the lines you see here on the grid. So I could have changed it here going across or going away, the X or the Y. But pay attention to this next part. I'm going to change this because this is starting to bother me. Okay, so let's make that the focus. What we're going to create here is a wall around the shape. However, not just a wall. It has to be tilted. And let me explain why. The way this works is this, the center cannot come out because it's pushing against the next layer. And the layer within here is pushing out against this one. And this one can't come out because the top of it is pushing out against the middle of this section. So we're kind of trapping everything within itself. But to do that, we need to create that gap. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the first part, the very top part first. So I'm going to, let me get forward right there. I'm going to change this to 25 degrees. Now, you can go up to 45 degrees and not need supports. Now, very important that you do not need supports for this, because as soon as you start adding little tiny pieces of plastic within the design, which, by the way, is already plastic, it starts to not work the same. So what you want is something that is not going to need supports, and 25 is a pretty good degree for not needing the supports. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this. Oh, wait. Before we go on. And this part is very important because you don't want to change the dimensions after. You don't want to change the dimensions after. You want to have everything set before. Okay. I'm going to drag this over here, trying to get it to the center. It's not perfect, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to align it. I clicked on the align tool, and now they are aligned. That's awesome. Let me just move it over here, center. All right, now let's move it closer, and the degrees are going to be, anybody remember? That's right, 25. So there it is, 25. And now I'm going to get this as close as I can to the edge of this. I'm going to use the arrow keys, and it's going to go very slowly. but I'm going to zoom in so I can get the action shot. It's, oh, almost there. Let me see if I can get a side angle here. Whoa, not quite. Oh, we're almost there. Okay. I'm going to just, little by little. Almost there. Ah. Honestly, you don't have to be, this tedious about this. You don't. I am, just because it's me. Oh, yay, I'm pressing the wrong button. No wonder it didn't work. Almost there. Right. Right there. Now, again, doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to try to get it as closely as I can. And you know what? I'm going to call that good enough. Okay. I'm not sure if you saw this, but I did press the wrong button, so I need to align this again. And it looks like I moved it there. Okay, now it's centered. I'm going to duplicate this one right here. And then I'm going to mirror it facing that way. And now I'm going to hit the shift and drag over here. Now I want to see how close I am. Whoa. Did I? No. Okay. Thought I got it just right. I was afraid. So I'm going to use the back arrow or the up arrow to move it back. So you can see it's starting to get smaller right there. And we're almost there. Very important that you're very precise with this. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this just because I want to make sure, but I want to make sure that all this is aligned, at least from one section. This one right there, it's gray. We're good. The reason I want it aligned is because I'm going to duplicate this. And because it's centered, all I have to do now is rotate. Does anybody know how many degrees I should rotate? Anybody? Anybody? And the answer is 60 degrees for this shape in particular. And it should nail it perfectly. Okay, great. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Now watch. Tinkercad already has an idea where you want this. So I'm going to duplicate it. And it did it. It said, hey, the last time he duplicated, he turned it 60 degrees. So it's like, I'm going to do the same thing. Now you're wondering, this is not very cool in terms of design. You're right. We're not there yet. But here's the important part. You have begun the design. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select all of this. Now here's the pattern I want you to see. Before I group something, I want to select all of it and duplicate it. And you'll see why in a little bit. So let me just drag this over here. You're going to need that later in about, let's say, 2 minutes. Here's what we're going to do next. We're going to create a block. And we're going to make this 100 as well. 100 wide. And let's focus on this angle right there. And let's make this 50. So there you go, 50. We're covering something here, but you're going to see this. I need to rotate this. Can you guess what I'm going to rotate? The number? You can't see the number, neither can I. So I'm going to go to 25. You guessed it. Why? Can anybody figure out why? That is because I want to get rid of something here, that part. Now, at the same time, can you see that right there? This is sticking out, so I am going to duplicate this and then drop it back 25 because I want it to be parallel. That was 22, so I need to do that again. 25, and 25 should work. So now all this should create. I'm going to create one block out of these two. Very important. You need this to be one block. It just makes it a lot easier later. Okay, so now it's one giant transparent box or block. Okay, so we're good here. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to get this as close as I can to that right there, to this red box. All right, so I'm going to move this over to the left a little bit because I see a little bit of red there. I'm not even going to worry about it now. All right, so now with my arrow, I'm going to go like as close as I can. I think I can. 2 Is my arrow even moving it? Oh wait, it is, but it's going the wrong way. I love that part. Very, very important here. Let me focus over there. That's what I want. I want this to be, this part right here, I want this part to be shaded. So let me move it forward. Oh, there it is. That's what I'm looking for. I want that. And let's see what we're doing here. Let me get a better idea. All right. All right, good. Oh, I see what the issue is. Okay, I'm going to separate these two. So here's the thing. This should be pretty consistent up and down, but what I notice is that there was a block. This block on top should be further back. So I'm going to ungroup this right here. And this block should go back way faster than that. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a while. My bad. Let's go over here. I'm going to move this back because it's not as important. Okay, now I'm going to select both of them again, group. Now that they're one piece again, let me zoom in and let me show you what I'm talking about. This part right here is what I care about. Just that this over here, not important, that over, not important. It's this part. So I'm going to use my arrow key, and I want you to notice that it is off. That means I can get the smallest possible movement on here. Okay, so that means this is not even touching the red part. So I'm going to move it forward. It's touching part of the red block, and then it's touching all of the red block. That is exactly what I want. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And it's going to get easier, but at the same time, a little more tedious. So let me move this out of the way. I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to mirror it this direction. And I'm going to keep on going. Get it as close as I can. Did this not go? Oh, I moved the wrong one. Yay me, so special. This is the one I wanted to move. Right. I'm going to get close, not perfect. So now I'm going to move it back. I'm going to move this back until, there it is, right there. So again, this is the part I'm caring about, right there. I want it to be covered in gray. Now I'm going to center, actually no, it's already centered. So again, I'm going to select gray box or gray see-through, and duplicate. And now I'm going to rotate. Do you remember what I'm going to rotate this? 60 degrees. 60 degrees should work just fine. And right there, 60 degrees. So that should work. Let me just test it because I don't want to just assume that it works. I want it to actually work. All right, so here it is. I'm going to try to move this back a little bit because, again, I want to make sure it just touches that part, the red part right there. And right now, it's not moving the way I want, so I'm going to move it manually right there. Now I'm going to adjust it. There it is. I'm using the arrow keys. And again, I just wanted to cover slightly. And if you noticed, oh, from this angle it worked. I'm going to go forward one. There. That triangle right there, taken care of. Now, let's work on the opposite side. Like I said, you're going to love playing with this, but you're going to hate designing it. That is the nature of this one in particular. My apologies ahead of time. So again, I want this part to be gray. I don't care about this. I don't care about this. I care about that one right there. So I'm going to go, I'm going up in my design. And it is, come on. Oh, there it is. There it is. All right. So that's covered. Now we're almost completely covered, but we just need to do this side over here. So I'm going to click on this and this, just these two right here. Notice those two. And I'm going to duplicate them. And then I'm going to rotate. Again, the number, mind you, the 60 degrees only applies to my design because of the shape I'm currently using. So I know this part is tedious, and I might actually just fast forward this part so that you can see the final product, or at least the result of this. But I do want you to see how much work it really is. So going forward, moving, and it's not moving. Why isn't it moving? So I'm going to just move it myself, right? Right there. All right. Now here's the important part. You noticed I kept a red copy of what I'm about to do. Now I'm going to keep a copy of this thing. Okay. I'm going to duplicate that, drag it over here. Now you're going to get your first layer. You now have the first layer of the fidget design. Okay. Want you to notice it's not perfect. There's something there, but we're going to fix that later. Okay, so now we're going to change this to green because, or any color really, but you want it to stand out from what you're about to do over here. I'm going to drag this over here. And now I'm going to try to, mind you, I still have the outside selected, not the green, but the outside. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to measure so that they align perfectly. This inner wall with the green one. That's why I made it green so you can see the difference. It's moving slightly right now. And now I'm just moving the arrow keys to try to align it. See the bottom, there's a little bit of space, and the top is a little bit of space. And the reason the space is there is because we took a little bit off the sides. So it makes perfect sense for that to be there. Okay, it is aligned now. This is the pattern you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing this over and over again. So now I want to move this back to right here. So it's going to be 2 millimeters, and I'm going to press it once. This one's going to go down once. Great. Now, this one's going to go up, and this one's going to go back. And now I'm going to turn it again. This one's going to go up, and this one's going to go back. All right. Now what I'm going to do, before I go to the next step, I'm going to duplicate it, drag it over there. Before I do, I'm going to get rid of that inside part. I don't need that. Okay, so again, before I do the next step, I made a copy. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this part right here. All right. And I'm going to make it so that this is barely touching the green part. Okay, so right there, I want you to notice that. See how it's touching it right there? I'm going to move it with the arrow keys over, but then this one touches, so I want to use the arrow keys up. Now over here is touching a little bit. Believe me, it will work eventually. And I think we're there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to move this one. The goal is the same as before. Let's start with this one down. Let me click on here, then I'm going to click on this. The goal is to get this little part at the bottom to be covered in gray, but just barely. Not a lot, just enough. So I'm going to use a shift and then drag this down. See how, okay. Now I'm going to use the arrow key for, oh, perfect. I'm going to go to the other side over here. I'm going to hit shift and move this down so I can get a smooth and straight movement. Right there, but now I'm going to use the arrow key to get it back just once. Is it enough? Is it enough? It is. Okay, good. Now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to shift and drag. Hit shift and drag. Okay, now I'm going to go up and back, up and back. Okay, now this one. Shift and drag it so that it barely covers. And there. Now we have two more. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, now I'm going to use the arrow to get it back. Last one over here. I'm going to hit shift and go back. Okay, there it is. Now before I secure this, I need to have a copy of this part. So here's what I'm going to do. Check this out. I need you to see this very carefully. See how that top layer? What you want to do is I'm going to click and drag to select all of it from the top. And then I'm going to duplicate it and then drag it over here. Great. Now, oops, let me get a better angle here because I want to make sure I capture everything that's there. All right. Now I've created my second layer. Everything seems fine. You're going to keep on doing this. See, drag this over here, adjust each side, make a copy, drag it over there. Now drag this one over here, adjust each side, and then make a copy and drag it over there. And again, I change it to green because it makes it a lot easier to see when you're comparing the outside edge to here. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the very end when I've done 10 layers, which is what I expect you to do, 10 layers at least for your design. And I'll see you on the other side. So after you have your 10th layer of this thing, let me just secure that one. Then you're going to deal with the issue that we've been ignoring pretty much all this time. So let's get a close-up. Come on over. First of all, I'm not sure if you can notice, but these are at an angle, right? That's, you can actually leave it like that. But what we can't do is leave this down here. There's a little piece sticking out right there, and that's for every single corner in this design. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a cube or box that's slightly bigger than your design. That's right. All it has to do is cover that. So there we go. Now I'm just going to go straight down. And I need to zoom in here because all we want to get is that part right there. We don't have to just focus on that part, but I want to take off as little as possible. And that seems fine right there. As long as we get those little parts, we are good. Oh, I missed an area. So can I make it up over here? I can just use my arrow key and go down, although it still doesn't look like it's going to be enough. So I'm going to increase this to 70 just to play it safe. Okay, so now I'm going to select both that top part, the fidget, and the transparent cube. I'm going to group them. And there we go. Now we have a straight edge right there. All right, so here's what we're going to do next. You could, if you wanted to, do the same thing to the very top. I actually am going to, just because it affects the next part of what we're going to do. In fact, because I'm so lazy, I'm just going to, whoa, that was scary. I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to raise it up. You see that right there. Let me get a close-up just to make sure. They're all flat. I'm not missing anything. All right, it looks like I'm getting enough just to be flat. Okay, so I'm going to select everything, and then I'm going to group. And hopefully this will make it completely flat on the top and the bottom. And it looks to be that, both here and there. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to duplicate this right here. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to flip it up and down. Now I'm going to drop, well, let me just raise the, what should I do? Drop, raise, let's just raise it. Okay, let me, didn't really zoom in here. Okay, so not aligned perfectly, so I'm going to move it up. The goal is perfection here. And at 0.25, I'm not sure we can reach it, so I'm going to just turn this part off. Wow, I think I did actually reach it. What you don't want is any kind of space in between these two right here. None, no space at all, because that will ruin your print. All right, looks like we are good to go. I'm going to group the two. All right, looks like it is one piece now. Now, all we have to do, in case you have not noticed, just lower it down so that it reaches the bottom. I like doing this. 0. And does it work? Does it work? It looks like it did. Yes, it is now 0. We have finished our fidget design. And the next part is to print it. And if you like this tutorial, this torturous tutorial, please like, subscribe, do all the things that make you want to come back for more. And thank you. And we'll see how this turns out. I'll try to put some video of the finished product and we'll see what it looks like. Have a good one.